Well, good evening, everyone. I'm StormTrack meteorologist Kid Alexander. We're in with another severe thunderstorm warning. So, second time today, here we go again. We have a line of showers and storms that's progressing up to the south and east, this time affecting areas of Washington County, Virginia, extreme eastern Sullivan County in Tennessee, and also Johnson County. So we're looking at a cell that has the potential to bring down some sporadic gusts up to 60 miles per hour. That's the reason why we have the warning on it. Right now, the hail criteria looks to be 3/4 of an inch or less. So we're looking at the wind potential, but we're also looking at some torrential amounts of rain again. So here we go. You're looking at that warning now. That's in the yellow polygon. We'll kind of cover a couple things. Let's start out with the lightning with this. It does have some frequent cloud to ground lightning, 77 strikes the past 15 minutes. So yes, you're going to hear this cell as it progresses off to the south and the east. You're in Washington County and also in Johnson County too. Let's take a look at the wind field with this. It's still a good idea just to check storm relative velocities. I don't really see much in the way of rotation, so this is obviously not a tornado warning. This is a baseline severe thunderstorm warning, but just something we monitor. Sometimes you get some stronger winds aloft, and then that could be mixed down to the surface, and some of the brighter colors there kind of indicate that potential. That's what we're worried about, some winds gusting up to 60 in this polygon zone, which includes just south and east of Abingdon to Damascus, Shady Valley now, under that severe thunderstorm warning. So just something we're monitoring. It's kind of a slow mover. It's progressing up to the south and east at 20. So again, like most of the storms today, it's not really moving all that fast, which means it has the potential to drop some heavy rainfall. We've seen that already. We've already had some spots over the past 24 hours that's already got a good dumping of 2.3 plus inches of rainfall in spots. So look at that heavy rain. Damascus, Virginia, hello, you're getting in on that heavy downpour there, stretching back to Alvarado, the Drowning Ford, Osceola, Taylor's Valley, getting in on that heavy rainfall, and Backbone Rock. Anywhere in that zone, you could be looking at the potential for some spotty gusts up to 60. That's why we have that severe thunderstorm warning on it. If you're kind of outside the zone, you might still get some strong wind gusts, possibly up to 40. I'm sure you're noticing the thick, dark clouds, the rain shafts, and some of the downbursts associated with that. Let's take a look at the hail products, see if I can see anything. It is showing a little bit of a pea-sized hail in between Abingdon and Damascus. This is extremely close to Watauga and just to the west of Osceola there. That's a spot where we could be looking at some pea-sized hail. Let's see what else we want to look at here. We'll look at the rainfall rates. Woo, look at that. Look at that, you all. Osceola getting in on some of the heaviest of that rainfall. 1.69 inches of rainfall per hour. Yeah, tropical downpours happening there. Anywhere in these pinks, but even in the reds, I'm sure you're looking at some heavy rainfall rates in excess of an inch per hour. The whole zone there is in the bullseye, if you will, for some of that heavy rainfall and that wind. I have Skylar Doyle is helping me monitor the chat, see what else information-wise we can get to you on this. I'm going to broaden the perspective for the meantime and show you the whole area. So if you're watching us, not necessarily just in Washington County, but let's say you're watching us and you live in Laurel Bloomery there, just to the south of this storm, you're noticing that storm is heading your way. So look out. You could have some gusts up to 60 and some heavy rain, and you're also going to have that frequent cloud to ground lightning associated with that. That's progressing to the southeast. We can also put a timer on this. So like I said, it's moving southeast at 20. Let's see. Let's put this into motion here over the next little bit. Some of the towns that may be impacted by this include Big Hill. In the next minute, I'm sure you see, here comes the heavy downpours. Laurel Bloomery, 413. This is a good estimate, assuming it holds the same speed and strength. White Top, Virginia, 416. Eventually be progressing up to the southeast. Johnson County, 424, around the Memorial Hospital there. Holy Hill, 430. Mountain City, 432. That's some of the times with this storm cell. Let's see. What else can we show you here? I'll pull up the warning criteria. It also mentions the counties. This includes Johnson, Sullivan, Washington County there in Virginia, Abilene and Damascus, Shady Valley. That's the zone where we could be seeing some of that wind and that heavy rainfall. All right, we're going to broaden the perspective out now, because thankfully at the moment this is the only warned storm that I see. We still have some other spotty downpours. I mean, if you live just to the east of Lebanon, south of Rosedale, there's a heavy downpour there. Also a heavy downpour back towards Tazewell County. We're seeing some light rain in northeast Tennessee. You see some of that there in Johnson and Jonesboro. But the main cell that I have my eye on is that severe warning. So what we noticed earlier, sometimes these storms will just pulse up. They go through their cycles, and then eventually, combining this with the terrain impacting the storm, eventually they tend to fizzle out. We'll watch this one and see how it kind of progresses over the next couple scans. See if we have any storm reports. That's good news. Not seeing any storm reports. That's the way we want to keep it. By the way, if you have any questions, put it in the chat here. I'll try to get to some of your questions. By the way, Meteorologist Dave Dirks, Chief Meteorologist Dave Dirks, will be here with the forecast on Channel 5 coming up at 5 o'clock, 5:30, and 6. He'll be covering the latest forecast, which looks hot and humid, and still a few showers and storms around at times. So yeah, keeping that hot pattern around. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Let me know there in the chat. Okie dokie. So heavier downpours now from Abilene stretching back to Damascus. It looks like the heaviest of that rainfall finally progressing just a little bit off to the south and east of Abilene. But as you're looking towards the lake, south of Abilene, and you're heading down the highway, that main highway there, and I can't remember the name of it, but you know which one I'm talking about. You're likely seeing that back towards the lake, some of that heavy rainfall, those darker clouds. Look at all the frequent cloud-to-ground lightning with that. Damascus, Taylor's Valley. Damascus, though, really getting in on the bullseye of the heaviest of that rainfall. Like I said, we were looking at some rainfall rates there, in excess of 1.69 inches of rain per hour. Here's another look again at the warning criteria. Not really seeing big hail with this. Good news there. We're more concerned about the gusts, like we looked at a little bit earlier. Could be looking at maybe some pea-sized hail. Here's the latest hail tracker with that. In the blue, that would indicate some pea-sized hail just to the east of Drowning Ford. Rowtown, pretty close to that. So you might see a little bit of that kind of embedded within the rain, if you will. Those heavy downpours, massive raindrops, I'm sure of that, definitely with this. Let's see what else we can look at here. Storm relative velocities, we'll look at the winds again. Have a little bit of broad rotation. Again, this is not a tornado warned storm. At the moment, I'm not getting an indication that it would go that way. Something we always keep an eye on, but there's a little bit of broad rotation, but no tornado warning. Just kind of shows generally a little bit of rotation in the atmosphere. It's not that great though. Very, very broad at the moment. So I would be mainly concerned about some straight line winds up to 60 miles per hour. Here, we'll put the loop back on that. See if we have any update on the timing with it and if anything's really changed. No. Let's see. Looks like the warning still holds true. Southeast at 20. Okay. We're going to put a timer on this one more time because it's progressing to the south and east. So here's generally what we're thinking. Here's an estimate. Silver Lake, it would be about 417. Right now it's what, 411. So here in the next 6 minutes, White Top, Virginia, 424. Flatwood at 426. Apple Grove, if this holds together at the same strength, Apple Grove at 442. Into Fig at 449, and Riverview School up there at the Riverview School 449 if this thing holds together, moving south and east at 20. Winds and downpours, that's what we're talking about there, folks. It's been fueled by all this instability that we've had all day. We've had dew points in the low and even middle 70s. I mean, even right now here at the station, even after some of the rainfall, still reading a dew point of 71, I think I noticed. So that's after getting a little bit of that cooling down draft. I've seen it read as high as 75 earlier. So, and we've also had some higher dew points at the Tri-Cities airports. It's a very tropical, it's a muggy air mass, no doubt about that. We have to look at the north and west here towards Kentucky to see if anything else is heading our way. We're also going to be monitoring a cell here towards Harlan County, coming in pretty close towards Cumberland. That's been progressing off to the south-southeast this weekend over the past couple scans. That's something we'll monitor here over the next hour. That might eventually move into Lee County with some rain, some downpours, maybe some lightning. Hopefully that won't go severe, but that's something else we're monitoring. And some generally light rainfall up to the north and west there towards around Pikeville, to the west there of Hazard. That's kind of where we're kind of monitoring that as well. The only warning we have at the moment, though, in the whole viewing area here, southeastern Washington County, eastern Sullivan, and Johnson County. So if you're watching us here, let me know if you have any questions. Put it on the chat. I'll try to get to any questions that you have, comments, questions, concerns. Like I said, the winds are gusting sporadically, not everywhere, not consistently in this polygon, but somewhere within this polygon you would likely have some gusts possibly as high as 60 miles per hour. Meeting the severe weather criteria. Let's see, one more time. We'll look, let me think. We'll look at the shear product maybe. See if there's really any shear. Nope, not showing up there. Here's the hail product. Still looking at a little bit of pea-sized hail, very close to Damascus. Would not be surprised if you're seeing some pea-sized hail kind of within those downpours, so don't be surprised if you see that. The warning criteria would be if you have hail in excess of an inch, but in this case we have the winds that are in excess of 60 miles per hour, so hence the reason why we have the warning at the moment. Let's see, maybe we'll look at the rainfall rates again. One thing about it, it has a lot of heavy rainfall. Still, some rainfall rates in excess of 2.1 inches. There's one a little bit less to the north and east. That one spot there, Alvarado, but back up to the north and east, 1.39 inch rainfall rates. That's still quite a bit. When I was looking at precipitable water amounts, which just literally takes, if you were to take all the atmosphere, all the water vapor in the atmosphere, and then bring it down in the form of good old rainfall, it lets us know kind of how much can be expected. And it was showing some amounts up to 1.6, even 1.7, which is pretty high. So that's being evidenced here. Another thing we have to monitor is at least an isolated flood threat. Words. All right, so anyway, yeah. Here's where that warning's still located. You see that right now, Washington County back into Johnson County. We'll kind of monitor this for the next couple of minutes and see if it pulses back up or gets a little stronger. Still holding its strength pretty good at the moment. Here's the latest lightning tracker. Coming down a little bit. That's usually a good sign. It had been up to 77 strikes per 15 minutes. This is down to 24. So I'm thinking a little bit of weakening taking place. That's the way we want it. Let's see. We'll look at the winds again. Rotation seems to be very broad at the moment. Nowhere near having a tornado vortex signature or anything like that. Let's see what else here. We'll pull up the warning criteria again. Sporadic gusts up to 60. There's your counties listed. Less than 3/4 of an inch sized hail possible. Mainly seeing some pea size showing up here on satellite radar. Put it back in motion one more time here and give you a broader perspective. Here you go. Here's the area-wide view. So I think once this cell passes through, we're going to have another break, and then we'll be monitoring that one cell there to the north and west of Lee County. It looks weaker in general to me, so hopefully that won't pulse up. But in the meantime, this is your warning right here. So if you're in this zone, I know we preach it all the time, but the best way to go is to have a way to receive warnings. Download the StormTrack 5 app, or of course monitor here on social media. StormTrack 5 meteorologist Dave Dirks will be back here with the full forecast on TV, WCYB, starting at 5, 5:30, and 6. And of course, you can have a weather radio. That's a good way to receive the warnings. And also, I mean, we have the, if you go online, you can also find a way to get the alerts sent to you via text. So you can have those warnings sent to your phone, straight to your smartphone in the form of a text message. There you go. There's one more look at the cell. All right, well, any comments, questions, concerns? Going once, twice. Alrighty, well, you all have a safe evening. If things change again, we will go back live, and of course, we'll be on TV as well. You have a safe